Hi, bienvenidos, welcome, benvenuti. This is my second YouTube video. My name is Giulia Settumini. Today we're going to talk about mental health. It is a delicate theme and I did not plan to do this for my second YouTube video, but something came up. My phone was stolen last week and I realized how important it is to keep our mental health in check all the time, because it takes one moment to slip and spiral down to a dark place. So let's see what we're gonna talk about today in more detail. So first of all, we're gonna talk about the freelancers struggle, meaning that we're gonna see what are the main reasons why freelancers can feel anxious or depressed, and what are the strengths and the weaknesses of working as a freelancer. Secondly, we're going to see how to cope with the difficult situations. So we're going to talk about some coping strategies that can help us overcome moments of intense stress. Then we're going to see how to maintain balance. So what are the things that can be done over time to keep in check. And last, we're going to see how difficult situation may be an opportunity for growth and learning. First of all, we're going to talk about the freelancers struggle. So freelancers face unique challenges, such as the lack of traditional support system and the pressure to meet personal and professional goals. This is due to the fact that very often freelancers work alone and they have to make their own schedules and stick to it. So there's a lot of planning that is involved for freelancers to be able to stick to their plans. For me, being at the beginning of my freelancer career, I am also very excited about all of these planning goals and trying to achieve them and being successful in doing the things that you plan to do. It's very rewarding for me. So I planned to do one YouTube video a week, and I plan to email a number of agencies each week and so on. Over time, it can create a lot of stress to keep up with all the goals that one sets for themselves. We don't have people around us supporting us and telling us if we're doing good enough or if we're not, or what we should change. We basically have to constantly review our work to make sure that we are doing a good job, basically. There are other setbacks than freelancers encounter. For example, there can be jobs that are scams. So someone would offer you a job and then disappear, they stop responding and so on. For instance, last week I prepared a video according to some task that I was given by an agency, and it was supposed to be a mock lecture. So I spent the whole afternoon preparing this video. Although they weren't very responsive and they weren't very clear with the pricing, but I thought, at this time in my life, I just want to give it a go because it will be a learning process as well for me. And I am just in that phase in which I take everything in, right? And I try to do the best that I can with whatever is available. So after my video was ready and I was asking the agency how I should share it with them, they told me, oh, you may send your videos if you did it according to these specifications. And they started listing a number of things that they have never mentioned before, such as you should be in an empty classroom, there should be a blackboard behind you, and you should have at least one student, which I thought was absolutely absurd because, of course, these things should be said before you give me the task to film a video and not after, right? Isn't that obvious? So things like this happen constantly, and it is important to learn how to deal with such disappointments, because in the end the waste of time is a big issue. Like, time is precious, we're trying to not only work but also market ourselves, keep counting and invoicing and reaching out to get new jobs all the time. So the actual amount of paid jobs is very little, and when you invest a few hours doing something that you won't get paid for, then that is really a big setback, emotionally and physically. Moreover, there are a number of issues such as anxiety and depression that can emerge from working alone all the time. So the solitude of the environment, the work environment, can lead to anxiety and depression. And so it is very important that freelancers invest in their mental health. For me, what has happened last week is that my phone was stolen at an event, and this was a huge setback. not just for the value of the phone that was taken and wasn't insured, but mostly because I spent a whole week trying to sort this situation out, and I lost almost 70% of my of the time that I dedicate daily to work to get my SIM card back, my apps back, my login details back, and so on, all stuff that was saved automatically on my phone, of course. Such event leaves you feeling very vulnerable because we feel deprived of our time for something that we didn't even do. And this creates a lot of frustration and anxiety, and yeah, like I said, a sense of vulnerability. So what I did was I set a bunch of goals for myself, weekly goals, and I couldn't keep up with any of them last week. It was majorly frustrating. I am a person that likes to achieve things all the time. And at the beginning, I noticed that I was spiraling down and feeling like really restless and just sad, honestly. But then I realized it was important to also acknowledge and process these emotions, and I couldn't just pretend that nothing happened. Something serious happened, and it did affect my life majorly. And we have to accept in these situations that the priority is fixing the problems. So I thought, okay, now instead of just feeling like a total failure because I didn't manage to do the things that I planned to do, I can also just accept that this is the situation and then getting back on track as soon as I can with my goals and my usual activities. Moving on, we're going to talk about coping strategies. So we're going to see what are the main things that we can do to keep our cool. There are various coping mechanisms that can be implemented to deal with setbacks, both personally and professionally. So the first tool that I have always used is meditation. I believe in the power of the mind and that the mind should be trained just as much as the body. There are many techniques like breathing techniques, and there is a lot of material out there that can be used to help us learn how to meditate and to be mindful and present in the moment. For me, mainly what works is just sitting in silence 10 minutes. Sometimes I do use apps such as the Waking Up app by Sam Harris or Headspace. They both have free trials, I believe so. And those are a little bit easier to do because sitting with someone leading through meditation, actually it makes it a bit easier to keep your attention focused on meditating, whilst sitting in silence allows us to see how many times our mind just runs off in different directions. It is very important to not only meditate regularly, but also remember to breathe and slow down in moments of tension, such as when you're losing patience with the client services of your phone company. And yeah, so definitely mindfulness and meditations are a tool to be used regularly. The second tool would be connecting with others. It is very important to reach out to friends, family, or fellow freelancers that can understand the situation like this. You can have the support that you need. I am lucky enough to have a lot of people that are very supportive around me and they understand me and they're there for me every day. And without them, I don't know what I would have done this past week. But sometimes we are a bit conscious and we don't want to bring the weight of our difficulties onto other people. But we need to remember that it is okay to ask for help, and most of the time people around us are happy to give a hand in a moment of need. So yeah, make that phone call, send that message, definitely, and that would make everything easier. Thirdly, it is important to adapt the goals, just reassess the situation, if we made a plan, how can we still keep up with the things that are the most important, and then what can we move to next week maybe, and how can we adjust the goals to be successful in the face of unexpected challenges. I recently watched a video about it and it was really helpful. Also because when we have a fixed goal in mind, it is very unlikely that we're going to achieve exactly that. But if we have a clear direction in mind, then we can really appreciate all the things that emerge while we're going towards this direction. Be aware that as much as goals are important, they are not sacred. They can be readjusted and rearranged according to one's needs. Another very important tool that we have is self-compassion. It is very important not to start blaming yourself when something goes wrong, because this will lead you to feel as a failure and cause more and more tension and stress. And so there is going to be less opportunity for you to get over a situation that has been difficult. I tend to do that a lot, especially at certain time. I do have a feeling that I'm doing everything wrong and I'm just a complete failure. I didn't achieve anything in life and so on. But then I remember of my psychologist who always used to tell me, if you fail at something, great, you have the chance to disappoint some people around you. So like the value of ourselves as people is not really related to what we achieve or what we do or what we don't do. So we can just imagine, I think this is an exercise that really works for me. Imagine someone else in your situation and how would you treat them and what would you say to them if something bad happened to them. Would you be angry at them, or would you actually say everything will be fine, just take care of yourself at this stage and try to stay calm and I'm here for you if you need. So we should really just tell those same things to ourselves, and that would help a lot. Okay, last but not least, seeking professional help. Indeed, I have just mentioned my psychologist. I have done a few years of therapy in different times in my life, and it's always been very helpful, not just for the time being, but also for the future, because we learn a lot of things about ourselves that we didn't know before. So I don't mean at all that I am resolved. There is no such things. I don't believe so. But we can just, keep working on ourselves. So there are lots of options to find professional help, both online and in person. And there are different types of counselors. I always want to mention how important it is to find the right counselor or therapist, because everybody's different and not everyone's type of work will necessarily help a person. It is important to find someone that can make you question those beliefs inside of your head. Okay, we're now getting towards the end. So the last point is about maintaining balance, and we're going to see how we can do that. First of all, it is important to maintain a work-life balance for freelancer, because more often than not, we end up working all the time, like 24 hours, 7 days a week. Every hour that you are not working is an hour that you're wasting, apparently. At least that's how I feel often. But in the end, it is very important to try to stick to a certain schedule, have time off, at least one day off a week. I find that when I don't have that, I suffer a little. So I'm trying to have at least one day a week in which I do not work at all. Possibly two would be best. And at least a few hours a day, for example, in the evening, just, switch off the laptop, go see some friends. And this is very important because it can get a bit overwhelming otherwise. Secondly, it is important to manage the expectation and set realistic goals. I am still adjusting in this realm. In fact, I have just realized that maybe I have a little bit too much on my plate because, I teach dance and then I want to apply to jobs and then I want to work as a freelancer and then I want to be a YouTuber and then I want to work out every day. And this is already a little bit undoable. So what I think it's very important in this case is to prioritize a lot, like just really make a list of the things that you want to achieve and what are the steps that are needed to achieve them, and just really be selective and try to leave all the extra activities on the side. Maybe, like, I'm not very much a person that believes that you can wake up at 4 a.m. instead and do everything. I don't think that's healthy, and in the long run that's going to also be harmful. So I'm still trying to understand what are the most important things for me, and I am adjusting my priorities around it, and I think that's definitely helpful. And last, it is very important to take breaks and practice self-care. So, like I said, exercising, for example, is something that I often leave out of my to-do list if I am too busy. But then at other times in life, I realize that's not really helpful because I start feeling depressed if I don't exercise, and then I will also be less productive. So it is important to take that time for the wellness of your body and going out with friends, not just being stuck at home all day working. So overall, I believe I learned a lot this week, and I just felt like I wanted to share all of it with you because if I just decided to stick with my original plan and do a video about, what websites to sign up for as freelancers, or some dance tutorial, I just wouldn't be really faithful to how I feel. And I think it is more important that I share something that I am really into in this moment. And overall, there is always an option for personal and professional growth in a moment of a crisis. So going through challenges is also important, and it is important to readjust our goals around them. We can decide to view setbacks as opportunities for learning and for resilience. I hope this video was helpful. I tried to mention what happened to me without getting too personal, and we have seen a little bit what are the main challenges that freelancers face, how to deal with them with some specific tools, how to deal especially with moments of difficulties when they happen. And if you have any more tips to share or any more techniques that you use to keep your mental health in check, I would love to hear them. So do not hesitate to comment on this video or message me on Instagram or Facebook. My Instagram is Julia Shake It with a G, Giulia Shake It. And on Facebook, I am Giulia Settomini. So I would love to hear how you keep up, and I would love to connect to other freelancers to see how they're doing. Thank you very much for listening, and have a good